Hey, it's KR talking about what seems to be a pretty simple idea or situation in a campaign, an abandoned town. But I'm talking about a very special circumstance of abandoned town because, there are ghost towns, right? And typically what happens is there's no economic basis left for the town. The mine ran out, the freeway went in somewhere else. There was just no reason to be there. It's inhospitable anyway, farming, a drought, whatever it is, and a town withers away. No, no, no. This is a town that was abandoned in one fell swoop. Not only that, but it was abandoned in such a way that people literally left food on the table, fires burning, whatever evidence there is that they all left at once, and perhaps, as we'll see, in a great hurry. Now, this can have occurred a while ago. It doesn't necessarily have to occur a day ago, a week or a month or something like that. But of course, if it happened years and years ago, people would have come along probably and discovered it, unless the town is in some remote valley that no one goes in and became forgotten, in some place where no one, it's unknown or something. If that can occur, the players come to some island or something, or no one's heard of it. There are circumstances where a town could be abandoned in one action, one hour of activity where the people just left. But typically, it's something that happened fairly quickly. But there are special circumstances. And the thing about this that is so strange, I think that lends itself to the classic, D&D type RPG fantasy setting is the, almost supernatural effect and the normality of a town that is warped by being abandoned like this. Because if you think of a town, you have people talking, laughing, joking, dogs barking, the anvils of a blacksmith, the activities of a city, carts moving through the town square, whatever it is. And all of these sounds that we associate are gone. We still have nature and whatnot, but it is totally silent right away. And then no one there, no visual cues. And the building's doors are open, windows open, again, things are out in the cart. They've abandoned their carts in the middle of the road. Maybe if you've got livestock and stuff, the livestock and stuff might be mooing unless they took it with them. So you start to think about the circumstances. But let's talk about a town, and let's talk about wherever they went, they took all their animals with them. I'm just spinning this, right? Because if the players ask, you're thinking about this. So not one creature that lived in this town with these people is there. And so the players come in with this unnatural silence, and then they begin to realize as they look that these people left all together, all at once to where? What would impel people to leave like this? So the players, when they come here, are going to want to investigate this and figure out what happened, right? And you can go and you can have valuables lying around if you want, magic items or whatever. I would have them gone as well. The players are going to find this stuff, but you could have them loot stuff, I suppose. There's going to be ordinary items around, but there need to be clues. And the first one, as I said, is everything abandoned just as it was in that moment before everyone picked up and left? So a blackened loaf of bread in an oven, it was clearly just left there. Candles burned down all the way to wax. Evidence that you give the players that clearly they just left and they left everything behind. The doors were left unlocked. I would say the valuables were taken, let's just say. So they went through and took stuff. Were there a lot of clothes left behind, or are all the clothes missing, which would indicate they were expecting some long journey? Again, the valuables, were there heirlooms? Are there's pictures missing from the walls, right? The carts are gone. The animals are gone. If that's the case, then clearly they intended to make some journey and they had to leave. So now depending on the time factor and who you've got in your group, is there a path that they took that's clear? Did they all go together, or did you see paths going in all directions? So the players are going to begin to investigate this. Because the striking thing is, what would impel people to abandon their property, their life, where they've worked all these, years, they may have grown up there multiple generations, to just abandon their home? Something must have really spooked them. or there must have been some very, very good reason to just pick up and leave. And what you're going to do is you're going to leave these clues to lead to the answer of what happened. Because if there was some reason, let's just say that the townspeople decided there was going to be a catastrophe and the town was going to be destroyed. There was some prophecy, some religious leader, something or some legend of the town, and all the prophecy was coming true, and they had to be, this cataclysm was going to destroy them. And so they then, if they left, they would lock everything up. They would, would be much more of a secure situation organized. And of course, they would come back once the catastrophe didn't happen. So in this case, the town is abandoned temporarily. And the players find this. How long are these people going to go? Where are they going to go? And in fact, is there off in the distance a volcano that is erupting? If they look on the horizon, are there fissures of steam and whatnot from some long dormant volcano? Are there fissures in the ground? Are there suddenly they begin to smell? There's kind of a sulfury smell here. Is this actually going to happen? So that just happened a few days ago, and now the players are here. Could this eruption be going on right as we speak? Again, the players that they decide this, whatever. And then is there a reason for them to stay? Because if the players investigate and they then find out about this, so you have these fissures rising, the mystery is going to be solved quickly. But is there a ticking clock situation that the players can get involved with? Some sort of exploration, something that this town guards, some secret of this town that the players have time, perhaps, to investigate before this calamity occurs, or better yet, to prevent it from occurring. Because there was some sort of bargain made with a demon or devil. There was some sort of sin committed by these people, and now it's come home to roost. The prophecy says it's time. They're fleeing, and this disaster won't just be in this little town, but the entire area. Let's say 20 square miles, something like that. And this townspeople, because they committed this crime long ago, they're totally, amoral, I suppose. They flee. So now the players see this, they get the clues, they find diaries. Because again, you're searching people's homes, businesses. Nobody is there. Everything is open to the players. So think about if this is the case, if they fled because of some kind of disasters about to occur. And if it's just, this town is going to, sink into the ground, maybe they don't care, the players. But if they know that, oh, this could be the entire area, a lot of other innocents are going to suffer for this. Is there a way to stop it? And is there a reward for stopping it? I like to have like a citadel off in the distance of the wizard who was betrayed by these townspeople and cursed them or something like that. So they can go there and remove this curse. And of course, gain treasure, learn the secrets of his tower. There might be creatures there that are now being released as part of this. This thing doesn't just have to be a natural disaster if it's magically induced, right? So that's something that that the town has been abandoned. They fled. There's still some time. Maybe there's not as much, the players have to figure this out. And can they get away? Can they get 20 miles away? Because the townspeople have a couple days on them. Probably if it's 20 miles, they can just turn around and flee, right? If they want. But they got to figure this all out and decide what they want to do. And you spice it up with the idea that this tower or this area where you could investigate and make this not happen might have also some goodies for the players. Another thing that you could have is where something has called the townspeople away. Some force, some, supernatural thing, some power, something else is drawing them, sort of a Pied Piper effect. And what you would have then is you would have some people would be more susceptible than others. And you would have a more gradual, instead of them all fleeing at once, it could be a gradual thing. And then people will begin to write down about this or hearing these things or whatever. Maybe they don't talk about it. Maybe they just wake up and discover that people are leaving and they're trying to figure out why. And then the next day, more people have left and others are troubled by dreams. And so finally you get down to this one person, their last diary. And maybe, again, what do they take? Maybe they take strange things. Maybe this force that's asking them wants magic items, wants certain things. And again, what is the reason this place was built over some, the classic is the burial ground thing or something like that. But something has happened here where they're being called away one by one. And this is a strange thing for people, the idea. And then the players, if they spend time here, begin to feel the power of this presence, begin to feel this urge. Now, do they let themselves be called away? They say, okay, I want to investigate this. Are they going one at a time? Do they watch? They're keeping a watch and they see one of the players under the influence and then they start going. Do they go? That'd be one way to do it. And then what is there? And what are the townspeople doing? Are they alive? Have they been killed? Are they in some kind of stasis? Have they gone to another plane of existence? Because that's another thing about being called away. Suddenly you become sort of translucent and it looks as though you're going to some other dimension. And of course, once a player does this, if they go that route of like, you'll be called away, we'll follow. So again, the diary entries here become important because are they going to just say they were just gone? We all were watching each other and suddenly they went in the room and they were gone. That's an indication of some kind of teleport. So you got to think about this. But the idea that something is calling away these people, this Pied Piper effect, right? Because the Pied Piper, the original fable was he got all the rats and the townspeople didn't pay him. So when he left town, he did his Piper thing and the kids followed him. They were never seen from again. So could it be something like this? They made a bargain. They went back on it, and now they're being punished. Now, there's a couple other things that I think about with one of these, the town that's been abandoned, in which the town is not really there, or the town is held in some kind of stasis, time's warp thing. So let's do the town is not really there. It's some kind of artificial construct. It's a memory, there's some collective memory of people. Maybe something happened. Maybe they were betrayed. Maybe they were killed in some conflagration. I don't know, right? And maybe that was a plague or something that went through this town? Now, in this such situation, a town that's not there, then you might have, it could be a long time ago and appear as though it was yesterday, right? Because it's artificial. It's a collective memory. And it seems real to the players. And then slowly over time, they begin to feel these memories, feel what happened here. And the player's goal might be as simple as let these people go on to the next world. They were killed in this, like Andromeda strain. If you've ever seen that movie, the virus comes from another planet and kills everyone in like 30 seconds. They're all dead. And their bodies are picked apart over time. And the town is in fact fallen away. But because of this situation, it appears to be in perfect order. So now you're going to have clues about things. You notice that, there's a candle burning. Let's just say it looks like it was abandoned yesterday. There's a fire going, a candle burning, this and that. And if the players, depending on their investigations, they realize the candle hasn't gone down at all. The fire hasn't gone out. Such that it appears that it was left moments before. But in fact, it is this artificial situation. It's not real. And the ramifications of that are to set up clues in which some person, the last person there who describes this, there might be some antidote. There might be some way, I would say more like this would be more of a divine kind of magic thing to let these people go. But again, you can, think about it how you want. But the idea that it's all artificial is kind of intriguing to me. The other thing is that time has sped up. This reminds me of the old Star Trek episode where these creatures that enter the Enterprise move much more quickly. So you kind of hear, but in fact they're zipping around and they're turning off, the computers and they're taking over the ship. And somehow they decide they need Captain Kirk for some reason, so they speed him up, and there he is, and he sees all his, the people there frozen. So when the players come, this is so fast. There's something going on that and again, how did this occur? What happened? Did creatures come? Did there some cloud that came through a magic mist and then they're all sped up? I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking about the idea that suddenly you realize things have moved. Things have changed. And you don't realize it because they're going so much faster than you. And again, I don't know the time because I remember this in the Star Trek episode where they would notice things. I guess I'll have to watch that to see. But I just think, instead of the classic, just everyone got up for some calamity or was fooled or was let out, again, there was a cult that said this is the time, it might even be not real, this calamity, whatever it is, and this guy is gonna come back with robbers and take them because maybe they left all their valuables, and then the guy's gonna come back and take them with his gang, and the players just happen to be there when this occurs. But it doesn't have to be that. It can be something where, as I say, it's artificial or there is some time loop or something, and you've gotta figure that out and uh, end it, or maybe it's a situation where they just go, well, they're in this, future things are moving, they can't figure it out. I don't know. I always want the players to figure things out. I think they do too. So as I say, the abandoned town that looks like the people just left recently, whether or not they did or not, is a fascinating trope for you to use. Quick shout out to my Patreon supporter. This week I did my Plague Skeleton Graveyard map. Really fun. And of course, like the video and subscribe to my channel. And most importantly, my friends, keep playing an RPG game, whichever one you choose, and tell somebody else about it.